Hi, what you're seeing is the new Pro Tracker, part of our Advantage series. It's a new state-of-the-art putting platform for breaking and straight putts without the impediments of artificial turf or undulating greens. Right? It comes in two models. Basically, we have the 8-foot with a 4-foot extender giving you 12 feet, or the 10-foot with the 4-foot extender will give you 14 feet. Okay? Now, we're going to see, the next part of the video is we're going to show how to set it up. I look forward to working with you. All right, so what we're going to do is go through the setup of the 8-foot with an extension to be 12-foot, and then the 10-foot with the extender would be 14-foot. And we will be going in and looking at, in the first boxes, it would be the front box for the front platform, the extender platform, and the rear platform. You also get an accessory box, and so I just want to go through the various parts that you should be receiving in that, and at that point, once we go through the different parts, we'll go in and set it up and go through each one of the deals and put it all together and get it all calibrated. Okay, so the first step that we have is you'll get an accessory bag, and in that accessory bag is a brush, a laser, your inserts, a 2-inch and a 3-inch insert. You'll get the adjustment bolts for the rear platform. All right, will be in this bag, and then the setup guide, and also the laser that will go on the front of the platform. All right, so that goes with that piece. In addition, with that would be the rear mount platform pedestal that would go on the back, and this would just bolt and we'll go through there. And optionally, sometimes some of the units will have just a standalone front pedestal, which then slips onto the bolt in the front, and it would just take that and it would bypass the Pro Tracker setup, the new pedestal system, or it can be used, in different setups. Right? So the first step is you'll get what I call this would be for the front pedestal, and it comes with the pedestal base. You'll get a 2-inch bolt here that we're going to undo, and that will then go into the frame underneath. And then what we'll do is put the 2 adjustment bolts down so that they will then attach here. All right. The second pedestal kit is for the extender. So if you only get this obviously if you order the extender, but with the extender will come again a 2-inch bolt. It comes with a base, and you'll get your 2 adjustment bolts, and they go in, and they will be here, allowing you to set up adjustments for both sides. All right. And then, so you have that, and then we'll get the speed stick, which is new, but it's important to be able to calibrate and set up your board to make sure that you find your putt line and get your speed so that you can better define how you're setting up your practice routines. This speed stick you'll see it very similar to a step meter, and quite honestly gives you about the same reading. But it's really designed for you to determine the speed that you want to obtain on your putts. So when you go out to a putting green, when there are different speeds, you can then recalibrate those putts for that speed. You can even take this to the practice green if you'd like. I wouldn't try to take it on the game. Okay, the things you're going to need is to be able to put these 2 on. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver. You can do it with a number 2. A number 3 is really what this calls for, but there's no heavy pressure here, so a 2 or a 3 will work fine. You're also going to need a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. And this is a Loctite, so when you put it on, you are going to need a wrench and a screwdriver to get that on. quite honestly, a drill is pretty handy when you're putting these in, but not, not absolutely required. Okay, so I think that's all the parts. So let's go ahead and set it up. All right. Thank you. Next. Okay, so we're back to our Protractor Advantage cutting platform, and now we're going to show how the parts fit into it. Now this is fully assembled, but I am going to go back and we're going to illustrate where each of the parts go, and I'll assemble it as if we were just doing it from scratch, or in fact what you'll be doing. Okay, so the first thing here is I'm just going to get down, and the first thing we want to do is we'll detach it so we have the part, and we're going to go through it, and you'll see that, remember we had the back pedestal? Okay, well that back pedestal would go right here. There's a bolt that sits up, and you set it right here, and you're there. Now, some people would like to refine the setting, and so we provide 2 levelers, and you could put those in, and then you wouldn't use this. What you'd be able to do then is you can then, along with the other settings, be able to set your back to some special criteria, and even give you a more sensitive setting and configuration. Okay, but for what we're doing here, we're just going to use the pedestal. Now, that's all there is in the back. Everything else is pre-assembled. In this case, is the pedestal is already included, already set up in here, so we don't have to put this on. But what we will need to do is we'll need to put in the bolt. So we're just going to disconnect the acorn nut from the top down. We're going to screw it down until it's about a 1/2 inch or so below, and then we're going to put this on again. All right, so now we'll have this in at anywhere from 1/2 inch to 1 inch on both sides, so you'll have one for each side. It's important that the side over here, you'll leave at this point, we'll leave at least a 1/2 inch so space between the acorn nut and your metal clip here. Right? And at that point, what we're going to do is we're going to level it. All right? And so now I need to raise this side. I'm going to bring this side up until where the bubble is in the middle of the vial. Okay, so that's all set and ready to go. I put my 2 adjustment bolts in here, and I put one in here. This one is about a 1/2 inch up. It is actually not touching the pedestal down here. This one now, so that gives me the ability to operate with that space. I can move this in and out so that I can raise or lower this. And since it's connected right here, it's doing a wobble here. So if I were to drop that one all the way down, push this one up, it's just going to push against this bolt. So it's important you remember that it is a rock motion, and that if you're going to raise this side, you have to be able to lower this side. All right. Also, the other thing is that it does have a rock and roll, kind of a rock motion, so that when we put this pedestal in, we don't want it so tight that this can't be able to move. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much it. The back is ready to go. So let's go to the front. So I disconnected the extender board from the front, and now we have the front, and we've moved the side back. We'll bring that back in a minute, but we're going to go ahead and set up the front, get it set up, ready to go. So I just go over a couple of things. One is that if you had received the front pedestal and or the back, a lot of times we put it, if you were not going to use this double adjustment bolt system, and just use a single. We actually Velcro them right here so that when you travel in storage, you can just put them there and it keeps the whole package together. So that's the first step. The second step is that everything is, again, pre-assembled, including the RoboCup is set all ready to go for the return. And so then, when you pull this kit out of the box, these are all wrapped together so that you make sure you get the right adjustment bolts with the right kit, because that's extremely important. Because these adjustment bolts are different lengths. Okay, so now the high-tech part of this is that, as you can see, what happens is this is going to, I'm going to take this off, leave the nylon thread here, and there's two settings that we have right now, depending on each one you have. One is very similar to, there'll be a bolt here, and you just slide it on, and the adjustment bolt hole is 3/4 of an inch, and you'll go ahead and put your bolt in here, and that will come down. So it would sit like this. The other one is, as this one is where it's like the rear and like the middle, where it goes up inside, and you'll notice that you have it here. It comes in here, it goes in the hole here, that goes in this hole here, the bolt goes in through, and your lock nut then goes on the here. All right, so then you'll use your Phillips, because this is threaded in here. You'll just go ahead and thread this in, take your 1/2-inch wrench, tighten this up, and again, remember that you want to leave that so that you don't want it rocky, but you do want it so that it does move freely, so that you can make your adjustment, and it won't bind on you. All right. So once you put this on, you're ready to go. So what we'll do is, if I'd only bought the 8 or 10 foot unit, then I actually am now ready to go. I put this in here. I'll bring back my rear platform. I've got dowels here. My aviation boys, I plug it in, and I'm ready to go, because in fact, since I leveled it here, I'm already leveled here, and I'm leveled here, and so we're ready to go. I'm all fired up and getting ready to start putting. I put down my foot stand, which is in yet another box that you received, and you're all done. We'll go on and we'll talk about using calibrating it for the straight and creating a straight putt line in a little bit. Okay. Okay, we're back, and next thing we're going to do is we have the 8 foot, or it could be a 10 foot unit, and it is a complete unit, and works fine for that length. But then we also have the insert to create either a 12 or 14. So we're going to assemble that now, and it's very similar to the front, because it also then comes with the foot pedal and the 2 adjustment bolts. Should be wrapped so this is all together, and it's important you again keep it together, because these lengths are important when they come down. And the assembly is pretty much identical to the front pedestal, because it has the same mechanism. Where the important thing here is that we are going to, that this piece will go through. Okay, so here's where I hit. My screw is going to go in, through, and out. That piece then is going to go into this frame, and with my screwdriver or drill, that I'm going to drill that through, and then I'm going to put my lock nut back on it here. Therefore, then I will have it here. So it's a little confusing, the geometry of this, but basically, it's put the screw through the back, away from the pedestal, put this on the frame, and then drill the hole away from the pedestal, put the nut on it, and then when we screw down the adjustment bolts, they're going to come down onto the little chrome setting down here. Right? So once I've done that, my aviation boats here and here are identical to these here. So basically, I can go from one mode to the other very easily. And by that, I'll show you. So they ask me, well, how hard is it to change it? Well, I just basically take this here, undo this, move this out here. I'm going to set this one up first. What? What? Okay. Repeat the action up here. Set it in. Now, because I leveled this, and when I set up the rear platform, you know, if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C, correct? That's okay. So if I'm flat here, and I come up here, I should be pretty flat here, and I should be pretty flat there. That being said, it is a 14-foot run. It can have a slight variation, so that's why we provide the speed stick, and we're actually going to create and calibrate the putt line so that we get it absolutely straight, because so many people, you know, they want to be able to get down that putt line and get a strut line. That gives you the ability to do that in an environment that it's not impeded by, you know, artificial turf isn't going to get in the way, undulation isn't there. You can practice on a what I would call a gold standard, in that it's a fixed location that you've created, and so therefore all of the balls that you practice with, you'll get that feedback based on a calibrated setting that you know exactly where that putt line is. So if you're on it or off it, all right. Thank you. Next step is we'll show you. We'll bring in the speed stick and calibrate this. Hi. So now we've put the units, all the pieces together, and now we're going to go ahead and calibrate it. And the first we're going to do is we're going to actually create and calibrate for an absolute straight putt line. But before I go into that, I did want to follow up here in that when we put these bolts through, we took off the acorn nut and then put it back finger tight. If you find if they come off in play, just take a pair of pliers and just put a little twitch on it, and that will hold them tight, and that way they'll stay and you shouldn't have a problem. Okay? Then we want to take care of that. All right. So we put it together, and what we want to do now is we want to level it out, because we're going to start with a straight putt line. So if I go here, I can see that I need to, I'm pretty level right here from when we first set it up. Not so level here though. I'm going to set this, and I want the bubble to be in the middle of the vial. Then I'm going to set it here, and I'm pretty straight here. Okay? So I've now set my adjustments up, and I'm leaving about a ½ inch on the right hand side right now, so that if I do need to make an adjustment, again, if I'm going to raise this, I have to lower that because it is a rock. So I don't want this touching. We're only going to use this to firm it up. Once you get it setting, you can lock it in if you'd like, or you can then, again, undo them and set them and put a brake in it one way, another way, and so that you have some variables when you start with the braking shots. But right now we're just going to do the straight shot. We've leveled it out, so we'll check our level to find out how good we are, because we're going to introduce you our new speed stick. And the speed stick enables you to determine the speed that it's going to take to putt on this surface. And the second thing is to give you the criteria of the putt line. Right? This is going to give you a validation And so I'm going to take, I've got the red line coming down from the laser. I'm going to run it right up the, okay, not too bad. So my settings were pretty good. I'm going to do about 4 or 5. Looks like it, and when it slows down, it might have a little break here, huh? So let's go ahead and test that a little more. And again, the slower the putt, the more sensitive it is to the slope. Right? We kind of say that, I guess we want to make sure that we want to get. That's why we got to finish our putt so that it doesn't break when you hit it too slow. That's got just a little bit of break in it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of that out. This is tight. So I can sit and use the front two or the center two or the back two, and I can actually change this line by as much as 2 or 3 inches. All right, I think we've kind of straightened it out a little bit. No, I don't think so. All right, okay. Let me go this way. All right. So, you can tell this takes a little bit of time. But for so many people, they want to make sure that they calibrate it out so that they have a true straight putt line. Then when they're practicing, they can then get the feedback based on what they're doing with their putter. I'd say that's pretty straight now, huh? All right. So, and also we noticed, we know what, we want to make sure we know that if we power that's going to go 4 or 5 feet past. And if I don't follow through, if I don't get a good stroke, even though I'm not hitting it that hard, I want to get a good stroke because I want to be able to get to the hole. All right. So what we're going to do now is we've done the straight. So we're going to come up and we're going to do 1 turn, 2 turns. Right? Now we could do a little more, and we can do it at the front. We can make the break back here in the middle or in the front, but I'm just setting it up as an example. Let's see what happens now when I run that same ball down that line. All right. So obviously, so I'm going to need to change my putt line. And change my speed. Alright. So now it's identified the speed that I need to have for the amount of break to get my arc to fall, so the ball will start falling at the appropriate time. So this is a great tool to work with this, to work on both aim, direction, and speed. And then by having the sensitive adjustments at the back and in the center and the front, it gives you the chance to make sure that you either have an absolute straight putt or that you can set up breaks to some level up to probably about 1.5% between in the interim of the putt to have the ball have various breaks. I think that pretty much covers setting up the unit. All right, thank you so much.